Morning, everyone.
Morning.
What you've heard is the shofar, that's spelled S-H-A-F-A-R. It is a ram's horn. That's a Hebrew name for a ram's horn, and they're typically made from a ram's horn. This one is a little longer than a ram's horn. It's a kudu, which is an antelope from Africa, hand-fashioned in Israel. And these things were commanded in the Bible. Exodus 20 talks about you shall go to the, I'm not sure that's the right square. I don't have my Bible with me, but you shall blow the shofar on the appointed feast days of the Lord. One of them was Yom Teruach, which means the blowing, the blast, the day of blasting. And they were required to blast the trumpet on that particular day. Jews call it the Rosh Hashanah, head of the year, but the actual name is the Day of Trumpets, the day of blowing. And I'll give you a little bit at the end what that sounds like. What it does, there's 4 different sounds that I demonstrated for you. The very first one was the sound of tekiah, and that is the long blast, and they use that one for the coronation of a king. So like when David was coronated, when Solomon was coronated, you know when Solomon, he had a party, he had a big party.
Oh, yeah.
He probably had a 1,000-piece horn section. Wouldn't be surprised. You could probably hear it all the way from Jerusalem all the way to probably Nazareth, something like, not Nazareth, but maybe Bethel. But anyway, that's what they use. So that's the coronation of the king. And, we know that Messiah is coming back as the conquering king. So we're in anticipation of that. The second demonstration I did was called the shavarim. It's 3 wavy notes, which can be used for military commands, telling the army what to do, to charge, or they're being attacked. Also could be used to represent, because in Hebrew there's a lot of several definitions for the same word. It could be used for explaining the wailing or the weeping, the mournful type. So it could be used in religious practices and could be used in a military sense. And then the other one was the staccato blast of 9. That is alarm. Does that sound kind of alarming to y'all? Yeah. It's like, we're under attack. Get out of bed. It's time to gird your loins and get out there and fight for the army of God. And that was used to also bring the people together. Yeah. So that was an alarm, and sometimes we need a little wake-up call. Wouldn't you say that? We need to realize, we're not living the plan that God set out for us. So it's a wake-up call, a chance for us to use another Hebrew term, teshuvah, to return. Before revival, you have to have repentance. So it's a return. And then the last one I did was the tekiah gadol, and that is the one that is long, and that's long as you can hold the note. Yeah. So that's the reasons they did this. Oh, by the way, when they brought out in the wilderness after the Exodus, during that 40 years of wandering, they would use one sound to bring in the leaders. That meant all the leaders of all the tribes were to show up in front of the tent of appointment and face Moses and Aaron, or else. And then with all the people were to show up, and we're talking about 1 or 2 or more, or a million people that were out there. Because 600,000 men, that only counted the men in those days. Yeah. Those was the census. So 600,000 of them showed up. Well, they had kids, and they had wives, and there was the multitudes. So it could have been a couple million people. So just imagine how long it would take to assemble 2 million people in a campground. Right. No wonder they move so often, right? So let me give you, on Rosh Hashanah, or the Day of Teruah, do you have one more minute? Okay. And this is the way they would have done that 30 blasts. So here we go. shofar, called the sound of the voice of God. 4,000-year tradition, and it still brings people together, and it gets people's attention for what God's purpose is. Thank you for letting me be at your service and joining in the fellowship today, Brother Andrew.
I appreciate it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.